Well, that leads me to another significant prophetic encounter relating to this watch. It was a couple of months later. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm meeting with leaders from around the country. Lou Engel's hosting a gathering, and he's going through some transition in his ministry. And he began to talk about the Moravians. He began to talk about this Moravian seed and how, and even in J-Hops, which is his ministry, the Justice House of Prayer, in the early days of the call and establishing J-Hop, Lou began to say how it was the Moravians and their story of how they went 24/7 and how it was just one person, 1 hour. It was their story of that community in Herrnhut, Germany that the Lord began to bring back up, and the Lord began to emphasize to Lou and the leaders there that He wanted this community to be a baseline reality. He wanted it not just to be in story, but He wanted it to be in actuality. And as he's sharing all of this, he begins to talk about things that the Lord was emphasizing, and we began to talk about sonship, and he was beginning to talk about the Lamb, and he was beginning to talk about identity and community and union with Christ. And so I'm hearing all of this, and my heart is getting stirred because I'm saying, man, the Lord is emphasizing something new here, and I don't know fully what it is, but I believe I'm supposed to search these things out. And it was at that time, Lou, I remember, I'll never forget it, he comes up to me and another leader in Michigan, Rick Warzak, and he says, have you guys connected since the call Detroit? And we both really didn't have an answer. I actually was convicted. And after that, Rick Warzak and I began to talk, and Rick began to discuss what he was doing and what he's been carrying in Michigan about uniting the peninsulas and uniting the state. And he talked about the Michigan Herrnhut Initiative and how the Lord had given him vision to see 83 counties come together, to see day and night prayer and small remnant pockets of prayer groups coming together and then praying together to see that the entire state of Michigan covering their state in prayer. And as he began to share that with me, I began to be encouraged because I said, Rick, this is exactly what's going on in Michigan with the ministry that I'm a part of, 24/7 Virginia, where we've been believing God for day and night prayer to be raised up all across the state of Virginia, and that the prayer leaders in the prayer communities would pray for our state 24/7, but not only pray, but that we would spend time together in the spirit of Acts 2:42, where it says that the apostles gathered together to hear the doctrine, or the disciples come together, where the disciples gathered together to hear the apostles' doctrine in fellowship and in prayer and in worship and breaking bread together. And so I'm back in Virginia, and I'm pondering these things that I just witnessed and experienced there in St. Louis. And I remember a dream that one of my friends, one of the prayer leaders here in Virginia, one of his staff members had. And in this dream, he said that there was, in a dream, that there were 12 ministries that came together from 13 states. And in the dream, he says that his staffer comes up to him and says that the Lord said that if these 12 ministries came together in the spirit of serving one another, if they laid down their agendas, and if they began to combine their gatherings, he says if they did that, he says revival will happen, and he says it would begin on the East Coast. And as I'm remembering this, the Lord begins to speak to me about why He wanted Michigan and Virginia to come together. It was so that we could serve as a catalyst of this reality of the 12 ministries. And I don't believe it's actually, I believe the 12 ministries is symbolic, and I believe 13 states is symbolic, but I believe it's a starting point.